G'day, Tim.
Morning.
That's the lady who's telling us it's being recorded. So, look, we're going to talk about what we're calling our software for antique businesses today. One of the things that's really interesting is that we discovered that the software that we've developed for jewelers and for bike shops that has some pretty unique tools, that software also works for antique businesses. So why don't we have a bit of a conversation about that and what aspects of, say, the jeweler software is working in the antique space?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, there's a bunch of things, but I guess some of the key features, and you mentioned, in the jewelers, coming from the jeweler side of things, one thing that's been really valuable to the antique industry is being able to produce a valuation certificate or additional documentation to go along with a product. So if they sell something and they want to call out, maybe it's historical information or just, provide more of a background on that product, you can actually set the system to produce a secondary document when you do sell something.
And we've got some control over how that's formatted, haven't I?
Yeah, absolutely. And the handy thing about that is even if a retailer discounts the sale price, you can do this second document that outlines what the actual value of it is. It's got the image on there. It's got all the extra information. It becomes sort of like a document they can use for insurance purposes as opposed to using the receipt for that.
One of the things that we've learned from talking with antique businesses is that it's one of the retail channels where the businesses themselves are very different.
Yeah.
You've got some that are pure antique businesses where they themselves source and buy product that they then sell through their businesses. Others operate effectively some sort of trade mall where people give them product, they put it into a booth within their business and they just sell that product.
Correct.
And so the business's job itself is primarily as a landlord, if you like. So there's that type of operation. And then there are variations in between with some doing consignment, some not doing consignment and so on. What we're saying to people is, we're not experts in antique businesses. What we are saying is that we've found that the software that we have provides some services that some antique businesses have found to be useful. So you've got, I think, some examples to show. Why don't we get into that? If you share your screen and take us in there, and let's see just some of those examples that you have.
Yeah, sure. And look, I mean, one thing I'd also add to what you just said about those businesses really varying, that kind of comes back to our process as well. If someone is interested, we'll do a one-on-one demonstration with them to make sure it is going to be a good fit for their business. And that also kind of ties in those businesses, like you said, we see a lot of variance in them. That variance also kind of plays into how they want to use the system. So, what you see here is essentially your main screen. We customize all of this to suit. So, we'll have some antique stores that look at this and go, geez, that's a lot of stuff. I'm not going to do repairs and jobs, or I don't do any quoting and invoicing. So we customize this screen to just have the shortcuts to the tools they use regularly. You can have different layouts for different machines. So if it is a bigger business and they've got people out the back versus people working out the front, they can have different layouts to suit. And that flexibility also flows through to the point of sale screen. And again, that variation in users, we have some businesses that say, look, I don't actually want to track my stock. I really just want to be able to use this for more advanced reporting and loyalty. But because they get in so much different stock and it's always turning over, they don't want to add all of their small products in. They just essentially want to do department sales for it. So some businesses will simply go, if they sold an antique toy, they could just hit toys and they could just key in $29.95 and simply do a basic sale like that. When you finalize that, we can do things like link it with your POS, bridge it with the buy now, pay laters and things like that. And that's kind of using it in a really simple fashion, but I'm just going to cancel this sale. The alternative is we do it in the kind of most advanced way you can, and that is by adding in each individual product.
While you've got that screen up there, just to kind of throw a bit of a curveball in. Each of these buttons that you've got on the screen, if I was running that kind of antique business where I have this 500 square meters of space and I'm effectively subletting booths, each one of these could be one of those booths.
Absolutely.
And I could have the furniture one, for example, could be Tim's booth. And the sporting goods one could be Justin's booth. And so let's say somebody brings up an item they've got from Justin's booth. I click on that button, put in that it was a $200 item that they've purchased. And that way I'm able to track everything that's sold out of Justin's booth versus Tim's booth.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. And the same goes, you can set those to be your departments. They could be those booths if that's how you operate. And these can also go to additional levels. So
exactly. So I could take it in your booth, for example, you might have 5 different types of items and you want to get an idea of what those items are. So you've got the ability to do that as well.
Yeah. So exactly like my demonstration items button, if I hit that, that goes into a grid and I've got additional products in there. So I mentioned before about being able to do things like the valuation certificate. If I sell this Victorian wall clock, I can click on that and add it to the transaction. You can see there, you can see there it's got your description and price. I can actually click on that and view the image of it. And each one product can have unlimited images. So that plays in a couple of different elements. Firstly, staff can double check that is the right product. But another advanced tool is we can link this with the website. So if this store wanted to start listing those products online, we can simply push all of that across. As soon as this clock gets sold in store, it'll either remove from the website or say it's out of stock. So we can very easily bridge those two together. Right. And like I said, when I finalize this, if I finish this transaction off, they're paying by FPOS, that would put the figure onto the screen of the FPOS pin pad. So you can't accidentally key in $24.95 for a $2,500 product. It also means it's going to produce one receipt for the customer rather than having to get two and staple them together. So far more efficient at point of sale.
Yeah.
This gives me the option if I want to print off that valuation certificate. And as you said before, this can all be customized. So if you want to call it something else, you can redesign this how it suits. And that's got all of that extra text on there. It's got the image. And that's, like I said, a secondary document to the standard transaction receipt. Your standard transaction receipt would normally just print out, but I've got mine set to come up on screen. Mm. So that's got my logo on it, store details, it's got the product and a bit of extra info there. Now with the receipts, one thing that's been really popular with our customers over the last few years is loyalty. You can set the receipts to do a voucher for whatever makeup you want it to be. So, antique stores have a habit of overstocking, I would say. And this receipt is a really cool way to try and move some of that extra stock. This customer has made this transaction. They're out the door, or they're on their way out the door. And I've just said to them, hey, you've spent $2,500. So here's a voucher for another $125.
So let me jump in and say that the retailer has complete control over how that $124.75 voucher is calculated.
Absolutely.
So the retailer, the antique dealer, can decide how much they're going to put onto the discount voucher.
Correct.
Now, the point that I would make about this voucher, for example, this is designed to work in a business situation where you are seeing a shopper infrequently. In other words, you might see the shopper once, or they might be once every 6 months or once a year. And it's for that infrequent shopper, and it's designed to give them a financial encouragement to hopefully spend some further money while they're there in the shop or in the next few days. And really that's where those vouchers play. But I want to stress again, the retailer controls the settings that determine how much the voucher value is. And Correct. You can also not use it entirely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some customers might look at that and go, geez, $125 is too much to give away.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but you could dial that back. Like that could be on transactions that high, that could be a far lower percentage.
The other point that I'd make though, is if you're going to use these vouchers, you can actually price what you sell knowing that you're going to use the vouchers.
Yeah.
And so I've got a couple of retail businesses and that's what I do with some categories. So if I've got something that's worth say $300 and I know no one near me has it, so therefore price comparison is not going to be an issue, and I know I'm going to do discount vouchers, I will slightly over-index the price so that I have some financial capacity to fund the loyalty.
Yeah, good idea. And that, at the end of the day, helps you move that little bit more stock.
Exactly. Okay, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's right. Yeah, so that's your kind of more advanced way of putting a sale through, and also that basic fashion of just doing a essentially department sale, and then you've got everything in between as well. So you don't have to load images against products. There's some other cool tools. If I come in here and I select my adjustable wrench here, for example, you can see there that's $25, and I can see down the bottom there's a tray that should go with that product as well. So if there's things that you sell that you need to call anything out to the staff as they put that transaction through, you can have those notes pop up on the transaction. You've also got functionality in the system for things like lay-bys, which can be quite popular. And again, that's a really advanced tool in the sense that you can do things like all your terms and conditions on those lay-by receipts. You can do payment plans. So if it's got a collection date of, say, Christmas time, it'll split the payment and show when that customer should be coming in to make payments.
And on the screen there, you've got Hum and Zip as well.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so we integrate directly in with Hum and Zip. So don't get me wrong, lay-bys are fantastic, but if they can be a bit laborious in the sense of you got to store it somewhere, you got to chase the customers, they want to refund, cancel it or change it. They can have their complexities. Whereas Hum and Zip, you put those through, it's gone straight away.
Yeah.
So there's functionality for all of that sort of stuff. Antique dealers, look, we find a lot of them do things like restorations as well. So we've got tools in the system for managing those repairs and restorations of products as well. So this is a full facility where you can log jobs in, you can track what customer it's for. If it goes to a third-party repairer, you can also track that it's gone through to them. Right. It's really advanced. That'll do things like all your job dockets. So if it is someone,
so this particular area you're showing us here, this is part of what's come out of the jeweler software, where you have jewelers, for example, who are restoring antique jewelry, and they're using these tools to kind of manage each of those jobs.
Correct. Yeah, this and also jewelers, but this has been really popular with our bike shop customers as well.
Yeah. No, look, the repair side of it is very cool and quite unique in point of sale software. It's a very unique set of tools. We're really proud of the repair tools.
Yeah, and like that does some cool things, like when you do complete a repair, it'll automatically SMS the customer to let them know it's ready for collection. It's it's very advanced.
No, that's nice. You're going to talk about secondhand goods?
Look, yeah, I was. So the system can also manage all of your secondhand goods. Look, that said, a lot of our antique dealers, and also, we've got some customers that just specialize in secondhand goods. You can kind of pick and choose when you do use it. So, if it was a product here that you're buying, say for $25, you may not necessarily go through the entire process of managing a secondhand good for that, because, to manage a secondhand goods, I can hit my secondhand goods option here, and that'll jump me in. And this is, again, a really in-depth feature where I can add in a contract. I can track what the product is the customer's leaving me with. It'll do things like their ID checks and manage all of that. So if I look at this one particular secondhand good, for example, I can see the product information here. This item has actually already been sold. So I can see it was me that sold it to the business. And then it was Pete Rogers that purchased that product to go back out of the store. So you've got a full kind of audit trail of that. This will print off things like your declaration forms. So if you need that customer to sign to say, yes, they owned it, it'll do all of that for you as well. It, really in depth.
So in terms of meeting that paperwork requirement around those more expensive secondhand items, I've got it all within there.
Yeah, all documented, and you can come in here. You can find all your previous contracts. Right. So if there is any question over anything, you can just go back and look it up and see, who the seller was, who the buyer was, and you've got the full audit log of it.
Excellent. What other things would you show us that would be of interest, you think, to secondhand?
Look, I made a bit of a list before the session. I'm just having a quick look. Look, there's also catalogs. So again, antique stores with that kind of overstocking side of things, you can manage any type of automatic discount and promotion in the background of the system. So if I wanted to go in and say, all right, all of my furniture is 10% off for this week only, I can pre-configure that sort of stuff.
And by pre-configuring it, I can say, here it is, I've set it up in here, it takes me, a minute or two, and automatically it's done within the software.
Correct. Yeah. And that can be in a bunch of different kind of mechanisms. It could be this entire section of the business. So that could be, like you said before about booths, you could say, hey, Justin's booth, we need to move some more of that. So we're going to do 10% off of that. It could be anything that's furniture related. It could even be buy this with that. So you could say anytime they spend over, $200 on furniture, it might cross-relate to a different department. You've got a lot of varying functionality in your catalogs.
Nice. Okay, we've got a few minutes left. Anything else that's on your list that you think's pretty hot that we should talk to antique dealers about?
Look, I mean, you've got your marketing tools and things like that. So you can certainly track what customers purchase what product. So within the point of sale screen, whenever I sell anything, I can simply hit my select customer and I can link that sale to them. Yep. And then I can leverage off that data down the track. So, if it's a secondhand dealer and they have, sort of a range that they might really, try and be a hero with, you can jump in and I could say, all right, so anyone that bought, say, I think it's Wedgwood is a, type of dinnerware. You could jump, is it Wedgwood? Am I right?
Yeah, look, let's go with that.
You could jump in and you could say, all right, anyone that's bought any products from that department in the past, I want to send them a text message or an email.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I've been to quite a lot of antique businesses, and people collect by interest. So I know somebody, for example, who collects antique cutlery sets, and so by tracking that they've come in and bought this antique cutlery set, and that they've identified as that being an interest of theirs, it means that I've then got the data, and if I want to email them about cutlery sets that come in, with what you're describing here, it's just so easy.
Absolutely, yeah. You can just, out of your point of sale screen here, you've got marketing tools, and I can just come in here and say, all right, anyone over this date range that's bought something from this department, and I can, send the info out.
Or I can even do it by products if I want to, that you've got on the screen.
Yeah. So even if it's by unique products. So, and that one is, we have some customers that use that for things like recalls as well. So if you do sell anything and you need to contact that customer after the fact, you can pull up a list of people that have purchased it.
Hey, so let's stop sharing the screen and let's just go through a couple of things quickly. The software links directly to Shopify, so antique businesses that want to sell online can do that.
Yep.
Software links directly to Xero, so antique businesses that are using Xero as their accounting software can have all of the sales data flow through to that.
Absolutely.
Through a third party, we also link to MyOb, so they've got the option to do that if they want to as well. So there are some pretty nice tools in there. Anything else that you would add that you think an antique dealer might be interested in?
Oh, look, what I would say, the other thing that's very important to mention is simply the fact, our installation process and the way we work. We're totally Australian. All of our installations, we have an onboarding process where we will walk through it with them one-on-one to explain how it works and train, get it all set up and train them. Mm-hmm. And all of that stuff, plays a very big part in it. It's what keeps our customers happy.
And we're not saying that we are absolute experts in antique businesses, primarily because there are so many different variations of antique businesses.
Yeah, correct.
What we are saying is we think we've got something to show that could be interesting and could be useful. And that's really where it starts, isn't it?
It is. Well, yeah, it does. That's where it starts. And we'll have a conversation with the customer to, understand what their needs are. Yeah. And then we'll, match it up with the software to make sure it is going to be a good fit. Okay. We'll do a one-on-one demonstration, answer any questions they might have, and, demonstrate how it is actually going to work in their situation.
Yep. Okay. If somebody does want to, if they've watched the video to the end, first of all, congratulations and well done.
Yeah.
But if they do, they could just, on our website, we've got the phone numbers for all of our salespeople, but also they could just email sales@towersystems.com.au and that will hit all the sales people.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Well, there's a form on the website to fill out as well, and we'll then reach out and, get the ball rolling.
All right. Anything else, Tim?
No, look, not from me. I think that pretty well sums it up.
All right. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks.